What's going on, all you minties? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and join me today for an advanced look at some collected editions coming out from Marvel Comics this week. So, let's do this. Hey now, before getting started, a huge thank you to David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us advanced copies of these trade paperbacks. These are all due out on May 5th in the direct market, and then a couple of weeks later in the book market. So, last week, it felt really weird because there wasn't any trades coming out. There was a reprint of Matterport Nights, which is the Wolverine Epic Collection Volume 1, and a small little graphic novel, The Champions. So it's good to be back doing this weekly. And I didn't get neither one of those books. That's why I didn't do a comparison with my original printing of Matterport Nights. But here we have 5 books. Of course, we also have some Omnis coming out this week. But you all know I love reading, and I know there's people that just get trade paperbacks. So, of course, that's why I love doing this segment. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with King Deadpool. So here we have King Deadpool, Volume 2. This is by Kelly Thompson. And this is the series that premiered in 2019. And this is Volume 2. Surprised there's not a title with it. Sometimes they give these books titles, but this one is just called Volume 2. Volume 1 has him sitting on the throne, and Volume 2 has him sitting on the throne again with this guy in the background. But now she is joined by Victor Nava and Gerardo Sandoval. So Chris Bacalo has stepped away. He's only supplying most of the covers in this collection. And we have Deadpool, who is still King of the Monsters. So in Volume 1, we got to see how he became King of the Monsters. And I mean, giant-sized monsters, small-sized monsters. Pretty much he killed the King of Monsters and then ended up taking over the throne. And now we have somebody like Eliza Bloodstone joining him. Well, at first she was trying to kill him. But who doesn't try to kill Deadpool at first because of misunderstandings or just because of his mouth? And she is written very much like her character in Next Wave. So if you're familiar with the way she was written in Next Wave, it's a wonderful series if you've not read it. This is what to expect here. She actually looks like that. I love the way that the strong language is all filtered out or censored out. That's the same way they did it in Next Wave. So that's probably where that parental guidance comes from. And yes, Jeff the Land Shark is back. But he came back in the very first volume. Now, I can't flip too much through here because this also happens to be the final volume of Kelly Thompson's run on Deadpool. And it was just one of the many comic book victims, I guess we can call them that, of the pandemic. Because of delays and everything, some comic books got canceled. Some of them didn't even get finished. So it's weird to see Deadpool not having an ongoing series. I think he had a one-shot in April, and he's got another one-shot coming up. But it's really strange because, I mean, this is, at one time, this is a guy that was carrying 3 or 4 Deadpool books a month. And now, yeah, I don't know if that's because people have Deadpool fatigue or what. But, yeah, it's weird. By the way, I really enjoyed this run. I'm a fan of Kelly Thompson and everything that she has written so far, with the exception of West Coast Avengers. I know people really love that series, but it just was not for me. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a good, funny book. I've heard people say that she's trying too hard to be funny. I didn't see that at all. I think it was just natural. What I love to see return to this book is somebody like Gail Simone come back, or Joe Kelly. I know he did the Spider-Man Deadpool book, but I would love to see people like that, or my man Fabian Nicieza. Let's give him another chance. And as far as my favorite Deadpool artists, though, I don't know who I would pick to come back. Maybe some of the guys from Udon. I really enjoyed their stuff. Riley Brown. Yeah, that's my Cable and Deadpool team. Let's look in the back here for some extras. Alright, so we have some thumbnails here, the art process, how it all starts, and then how it ends. By the way, the book has 112 pages, retails for $15.99, and collects issues 7 through 10 of the Deadpool 2019 series. And I did not want to show any of issue 10, just in case you people haven't read the King in Black series. But that's pretty much it. That's the end of Kelly Thompson's run on Deadpool. Sadly, Deadpool by Kelly Thompson was not the only book affected by the pandemic and delays. So was this. So this is the final volume of Ms. Marvel by Saladin Ahmed. This is called Outlawed. And this is volume 3 of that series. And here's the back. The book retails for $17.99 and collects The Magnificent Miss Marvel, issues 13 through 18. It is all written by Saladin Ahmed, Joey Vasquez, and Min-Kyu Jung are the main artists. The inker, sadly, Juan Velasco did the inks for issues 13 through 15, and he passed away last year, like unexpectedly. I think it was he just had surgery. Like I think it was just appendicitis, and guy had been around for a long time, since the 90s, working at Marvel, DC, did some image stuff. He was a great inker, and this is some of his last work. So this is another series that wraps up with issue number 18. And sadly, I hate to see this go, because I was having a lot of fun with this series. And one thing that you need to note, though, is that you have to read Outlaw before you read issue number, I think it's issue number 15 of this series. Because something happens to Outlaw in the book called Outlaw in that series that affects what happens to Kamala Khan and what happens to some of the characters in this book. But to lay it all out there, I haven't read it, and I was still okay. But I know people don't like to be spoiled and like to read everything, so I strongly suggest reading Outlawed before issue 15. Because there are changes. There's a law that comes about young superheroes. They're being outlawed now. But that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't want to spoil that for anybody else. But do make sure to read that. And, oh, yeah, we have a new character. His name is Amulet, but his real name, let me see if I can try to say this, is Fadi Fadlala. I think that's how you say it. And he adds a certain charm to this book. I like it. I'm not going to say whether he's a villain or whether he's an ally, but you can find out for yourself. Miles Morales and some of the champions do show up through here, as well as Cradle, all led by Dum Dum Duggan. And you get to see Kamala react to some of the things that they are opposing and some of the things that they're saying that she can't do. So it's weird because the series wasn't supposed to end, so it kind of feels like there's a lot of things that are wrapping up that are going in a different pace. They're going in a fast pace, and it doesn't feel natural. But it's still a fun book. I hate to see it go. I hope it comes back eventually in some kind of form. She's a great character. She has her own series. Maybe we get some omnis out of this stuff. Some more, rather. Let's look in the back here for some extras. Okay, on the opposite page, you can read it yourself. There is a goodbye letter from Saladin Ahmed. Here's some character designs. And some issues do have variant covers, but they're on the opposite side of the cover page. So, like, on the other side of this. And I don't want to spoil that, but like I said, this book retails for $17.99. And back in print is the House of M. This is just a trade paperback that collects the main series, issues 1 through 8 of the 2005 big event. Now, if you want a more in-depth review of this, the Astonishing Melanie actually will have one here in the next day or two. She just read it and has her thoughts on it. This is more of an overview of the book. But here we have Brian Michael Bendis and Oliver Coipel working together to bring the New Avengers and the Astonishing X-Men into a crossover. All because of Scarlet Witch. And one of the questions I always get about this series, though, is do you need to have read anything before this, going into this? No, not at all. Unless you're doing like a comprehensive reading order of Avengers or X-Men, not at all. You can pick this up and within 2 pages, Brian Michael Bendis recaps what's going on, what led to these events. So it's got beautiful freaking artwork. I know there's an oversized hardcover available of this, but that's been long out of print, and they rarely print or reprint OHCs. So perhaps, I don't know, maybe this day and age we could get an omnibus of this stuff. I mean, there is a popularity for Wanda because of WandaVision recently, and probably one of the reasons why this and many other books featuring her have been reprinted. So this is an alternate reality for those that don't know, where the Marvel Universe is recreated in someone's eyes. Who it is, you can find out for yourself. But everything's being reimagined. There are spin-off series. Are they necessary? Not at all. I'm serious. None of the spin-off series are necessary, which would make an omnibus really difficult. Oh, that's right. They do have the newspaper inserts in here, too, from the Pulse. That's the other thing. That's Matthew Mayhew. But it would make an omnibus really difficult to collect because I feel like, for example, the character Spider-Man in his own miniseries acts a lot different than the character Spider-Man in this event. So in the House of M Spider-Man, and I think that one's written by Mark Waid, that's a different Peter Parker than the one that's in here. Hulk is doing his own thing. But anyway, those are just my thoughts. I would make, like, that would be a really difficult omnibus to collect. Let's look in the back here for some extras. Because this book did have a lot of variants for its time. In 2005, it was almost unheard of for a comic book to have a lot of variants. But this is the House of M variant by Joe Mad. Then we have this right here. This is the poster, I think, or the cover. No, this is the cover variant by, of course, Olivier Coipel. That's the director's cut. I always love that Joe Quesada cover. Love it. It's gorgeous. And then the Pulse is back here. The book has 280 pages. Retails for $24.99. And the Pulse, this magazine, kind of serves as to who's who and who's doing what in this particular universe. But the main meat of the story is all in these 8 issues. So the way they collect the variants are on the opposite side of the standard edition covers. Here is what all those spines look like together. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Let's keep going. Dead Man Logan, the complete collection. This has been previously released in smaller trade paperbacks, like collecting 4 or 5 issues each. And of course, single issues. Parental advisory. And this book retails for $29.99, but contains all 12 issues of the 2018 series Dead Man Logan. And all of this is written by Ed Brisson and drawn by Mike Henderson. Now, this is a follow-up to Old Man Logan. So, this is where it gets a little confusing. Golly, maybe... No, I don't need to do a reading order of Old Man Logan. Look, it goes Old Man Logan by Mark Millar and Steve McNiven. Then they bring the character back during the Battle World, which is a spin-off of the Secret Wars mini event. So it was a mini-series called Old Man Logan Battle World, and I think that's Old Man Logan 0. I think Marvel does a good job of telling you how to read. There we go. Look at that. Yes, this one here. That's by Bendis. That's when the character gets brought over to the 616 universe, because remember, this is an alternate future where Old Man Logan is originally from. And then Jeff Lemire takes over the book and ongoing series and talks about how Logan is adapting to living life here with having flashbacks of the future. Yeah, a little confusing, I know. Now, he stops writing in issue 24, and then Ed Brisson takes over the book. And the series, I think, went on to like issue 50, if I'm not mistaken, and then it became Dead Man Logan. So the premise of this is that Logan is dying, his healing factor isn't working, and he is searching for a cure. He's also trying to stop Mysterio from creating that one event that changed the world of Old Man Logan forever. So that's pretty much the premise of this. This is another series that wrapped up and ended. So if you're not familiar with what happened, of course I'm not going to go any further. There was a spin-off miniseries of this. It's called Avengers of the Wasteland. It came out in 2019. There is a trade paperback available of that. But here we have the complete collection. What I hope is that one day we get an omnibus of this stuff. We get the Jeff Lemire run. We get the Ed Brisson stuff, including the Dead Man Logan. And I really like the artwork here by Mike Henderson. It's got a cartoony mix with realism, and there's a sense of brutality in his art. Oh, I really think it's awesome. Now, I have to stick to just the first half of the book because something happens in the second half of the book that is kind of a big deal, especially if you've been following the character for a long time and don't want anything spoiled. But yes, this is the Dead Man Logan series, 280 pages, $29.99. Let's look in the back here for some extras. So before these variants, there's a bunch of pages to say in memory of. They're like newspaper clippings, and I don't want to spoil any of the characters that died through these series. So you can read those yourself after you've read the series. But here is a Trad Moore variant, Super Log variant. It's very awesome. Scotty Young variant, Dave Johnson. And then you have one by Ryan Benjamin and Gerardo Safino. That one's actually pretty badass. So, Dead Man Logan, wrapping up the storyline of Old Man Logan. And last but certainly not least is Squadron Supreme. This is the new printing, $34.99. And this is Mark Gruenwald's masterpiece. 368 pages is what's collected in here. So this was the maxi series of Squadron Supreme that he wrote with Bob Hall, Paul Ryan, John Buscema, and Paul Neary does the Captain America issue. Then you have the inks over here. But there's a beautiful foreword by Catherine Grunwald talking about her husband and how much this book meant to him. And this was originally written in 1997. There was a trade paperback that I used to have that Mark loved this series, and I don't know if people are familiar, but I'll just, in case you're not, Mark Gruenwald unexpectedly passed away at a young age. And he was writing books, he was editor at Marvel Comics, and he had a heart attack in 1996. So, here's the other thing. He was 43 years old. That's the age I am. And at that time, I remember I was in college, and I was like, oh man, Mark Gruenwald passed away. Even though I had stopped reading comics, I knew the name. He wrote some of my favorite issues of Captain America. He wrote Squadron Supreme, which I loved. And I still had all those issues. I would not get rid of them. So what I did do, because I was not collecting comics, when the trade paperback came out, I told Steve, the guy that owned the comic book shop where I was, even though I stopped reading American comics, I was still working there. I was like, you need to order this for me. Because in the introduction, it's explained that Mark Gruenwald loved this series so much that one of his wishes was that his ashes be mixed in with the inks that go to print the trade paperback, the first printing of the trade paperback. So the one that came out in 1997 has Mark Gruenwald's ashes mixed in with the inks. So those are the inks that go on the actual printing. So that shows you how much that man loved this particular series. So this collects all 12 issues of Squadron Supreme, as well as Captain America number 314, which is what he was reading, which is what Mark was writing at the time. So this is an alternate world, an alternate reality, where there's a bunch of superheroes, and they do something unique. They do something that is unheard of, that you couldn't really do in the 616 universe, and that is they swear an oath to stop everything, to stop poverty, stop hunger, and pretty much take actions into their own hands, because they're a group of superheroes. They see themselves as gods. Now, of course, there is turmoil within, because they don't all agree with this. And I really enjoyed this series because this was so much down to earth. Each one of these characters had a lot of personal issues. There's one that's battling cancer, and he's super smart and trying to figure out a way to fix himself, and without bothering anybody else. So this is where Hyperion comes from. I'm pretty sure he's probably the most popular character out of all of this. He's shown up in many different books like Exiles, New Avengers, Hickvengers, and again in Heroes Reborn. So here's where the Wizard comes from. Well, Dr. Spectrum, Nighthawk, and yes, of course, these characters are the Justice League, right? You have Superman, Power Princess, you have Wonder Woman, and Nighthawk, Batman. But there's so much more than that. So it started as a ripoff of the Justice League, kind of poking fun. Mark Gruenwald made it his own thing. So this, to me, felt like a great series because it felt so real. They do a lot of unethical things in here that make you question what really is the definition of a hero. And it makes them question, are we doing the right thing? There are characters that die through here. If you've never read this, I know people compare it to Watchmen. I don't want to say that because while it feels real, while it feels like it's a commentary on not just superheroes, but our world at the time. But I think comparing it to Watchmen is an unfair comparison because then you set the bar so high. Oh, Watchmen, that's like one of the greatest graphic novels of all time. I expect the same out of this. While this is great, I mean, Watchmen is a whole new different level. But this is still enjoyable. It is one of the best comic series written. I think I flipped enough through here so you can get a sense of the artwork. As far as the back, there's a wonderful afterword by Ralph Macchio. There's also a creator commentary from the Squadron Supreme 1997 reprint. Tom DeFalco, Mike Carlin, Alex Ross, Mark Waid. Alex Ross supplying the... I think this is the standard edition trade paperback cover, and then they're using the classic cover for the direct market. Again, 368 pages, retailing for $34.99. If you've not read it, you need to do yourself a favor and check it out. It's a great read. And one thing, I love that they have to clarify this. Editor's note, this collection contains no ashes. So yes, I wish I had not sold that. I used to have it. I can't believe I sold it. But that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing any of these books, don't forget to check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online source for collected editions up to 50% off retail price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on excellent packaging, so your stuff gets to you in excellent condition, and they have amazing customer service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And for all you Minties that are watching, if you're a first-time customer, don't forget to mention that Near Mint Condition sent you their way for a promotional credit on free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. cheapgraphicnovels.com, your source for the hottest books with deep discounts, customer service, and excellent shipping that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content and page count of each of these trades. Let me know in the comments down below which ones you're picking up. If you're hoping for a reprint of the oversized hardcover of House of M, or I guess by this point it would be an omnibus. If you're a fan of the Deadpool run by Kelly Thompson or Miss Marvel by Saladin Ahmed, you forget that the pandemic also affected comic book creators because, these series should have kept going. If you've never read Squadron Supreme, I strongly suggest that out of this whole batch, I think this is probably my favorite thing that is coming out this week for those people that missed out on the omnibus, or if you're not a fan of an omnibus format, or the people that missed out on the original printing. Again, this was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, ring that bell for notifications to let you know when our videos are going live. We are on Spreadshop and on Patreon. Amazing ways to support the channel if you can do so. More importantly, everyone, please stay healthy, stay safe, and much love.